I had hidden away for too long, fought too hard to find peace with my own person to give up by going back to a place that was less than honest. All I have ever wanted is to create a safe space for people to find a pathway to hope. The Christians that had supported my music career, those who still called themselves fans, wanted to know if I was still the same kind of soul-searching person they had once known. Now, they were about to find out. By the spring of 2010, the loose plan started to take shape. In March, I'd start touring nationally. In April, I'd do some interviews during which I specifically discussed my sexuality. Then, in May, we'd release Letting Go, my first record in nearly a decade. My first tour back was going to be a 3-month stretch with a rabble-rousing fringe Christian artist named Derek Webb. I wasn't all that keen on the idea in the beginning. I really wanted to get away from the CCM scene, but Derek insisted that we get together and chat about it over coffee. He emailed me a copy of his latest record, Stockholm Syndrome, and said I should give the idea a chance before I blew him off. I didn't know it, but Derek was getting in some hot water for openly encouraging Christians to rethink their religious bias toward LGBT people. I found it interesting that Derek didn't seem to be angling for me to make any confessions. It was unusual for most of my conversations at the time. He didn't ask me if I was gay. He didn't ask me to explain how I could call myself a Christian. We just sat down and started talking. We talked about what our experiences had been like in CCM. We talked about music and our faith, but mostly, he wanted to welcome me back to the life of an artist. He encouraged me to remember that many of our fans were cut from the same cloth and I didn't need to be afraid to be myself. He wanted me to know that he was a friend who wanted to help me reconnect. Derek's gesture was a genuine invitation unlike any I had received in my career. He was offering his hard-earned platform for me to get back on my feet. We really didn't know each other that well. He didn't know me anything, yet there he was, standing up as a Christian man in Nashville, a known CCM artist, willing to put his reputation on the line to do his part in helping a fellow artist and friend succeed. I could hardly believe that a person could do such a thing without ulterior motives. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for something bad to happen, or for Derek to pull out. Instead, in the lead-up to the tour, we found ourselves jostling over who was going to open the show. Normally, artists fight to be the closing act, but Derek and I argued that the other should take it. I said that I hadn't done a tour in years, and there was no reason for me to close the night. Derek disagreed all the way to the sound check of our first show. "Yeah," he said with an easy grin, "I think it's better that I open." With that, he finished his sound check, and the order was settled. He played his set, and I sat in the dressing room chewing at my fingernails, imagining the whole time that the audience was going to walk out after Derek had finished. I don't remember the city of our first show. I just remember the picture of walking out on the stage, my knees a little wobbly, the stage bright, the room dark. My name was announced, and as usual, the applause started as I walked to the center and I put on my guitar. When I looked up, I realized that this was no ordinary welcome. The crowd was on their feet, clapping and cheering with electric enthusiasm. I stepped up to the mic to say thank you, to quiet the crowd so I could start, but the crowd wouldn't stop. They kept cheering and cheering. Before I could sing a single note, the room had risen to a standing ovation to welcome me back. I tried to quiet them, but they wouldn't be denied. It went on longer than any applause I can ever remember receiving. I tried several times to get on with things, but they still made me stand there and accept their appreciation. Part of me didn't want such a big deal to be made because when I finally allowed myself to take in the extraordinary scene, my eyes welled up with tears and my throat tightened to the point that I feared I wouldn't be able to sing at all. The raucous reception continued until the crowd knew I'd fully received it. I had to put my hands over my face to try to keep all the emotions from spilling out. After so many years of self-imposed silence, after years of thinking I had no more music to offer nor any good things to give back to the world, I found myself in a room full of people who seemed to acknowledge that I had returned from a very dark place and survived. It was humbling. To receive their support was a privilege and an honor. I was so overwhelmed that they invited me back to do such a seemingly simple yet life-giving thing. They asked me to sing.